China has a long-term perspective. China, in my view, is not rushing, is not having imperialistic, megalomaniac ideas. I would like to really pay respect to this latest initiative about bringing together all fractions of Palestinian organizations and leaders around the table to design their future Palestinian state or to find a solution in the long run. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci, whose main idea about cultural hegemony is central in his philosophy. So it is exactly what the West is doing with its colonies: brainwashing, propaganda, cultural hegemony. Oh, in my region, there is mushrooms after the rain. Various NGOs who work on detection of fake information and malicious influences from abroad, meaning Russia and China, of course. It is an unnatural atmosphere where you are raised to stick around and see enemies instead of friends. And even a normal information about some achievement, some fabulous bridge or highway or whatever is built in China or in Africa due to China expertise and support, is taken as an offense to the West that is in decline, that cannot actually maintain its own bridges and railroads. There is a lot of this soft power investment from the West to keep up this, as I said, brown sahibs, these submissive, loyal people who would sell their soul to the devil just to earn some grants and some money to do something for living. Politicians are usually easy to scare because they're dependent. You know, if you don't claim your legitimacy and power on the ground of voter support, public support, then, and you know that you owe somebody else for that position, then you are dependent, and they are scary. And actually, even in our political science terminology, we invented a new word for this phenomenon, stabilitocracy, which means that the West is choosing the leaders that are obedient, that would provide stability, which means no change, no other options, only the Western agenda and narrative. If they are dishonest or corrupted, or they're going to forgive them or turn the blind eye on these deals. But they would never really accept someone who speaks the truth. Mr. Orban, to be honest, is not my favorite politician because I'm a leftist and he takes a different part of the political spectrum, which is fine. But what he says about the global affairs makes sense, unlike the things that are said by the president of the EU Commission. I mean, there are two different ways of looking to the world. The same applies even maybe to Mr. Trump, that I'm not fond of him at all, but what he says, unlike his opponents on the Democratic side, makes sense in terms of let's have a dialogue, let's talk about ceasefire, about different worlds. Why should we raise our children in the atmosphere of fear-mongering, warmongering, Russophobia, xenophobia, various phobias? It is unhealthy atmosphere. I mean, we should really provide a positive atmosphere for the young generations to have something to believe in, to live for, to fight for in a positive way, not militarily. What makes me feel really, really upset is the situation in Gaza. I just could not believe that during the electoral campaign that we had months ago in my country, not a single politician spoke about Gaza, or do we have a position as Macedonia, as a state, with respect to various peace plans. The West is actually doing peace prevention. They are inciting wars because obviously military-industrial complex and blah, blah. War is more profitable than peace. They see things in that abnormal way, I would say, because the price is paid by ordinary people. I just can't live with the fact that over 30,000 children died so far in Gaza, that we are watching Olympic Games and having summer vacations or whatever. So it is really heartbreaking. So these latest developments about assassination of the Hamas leader is exactly an example how some forces work on prevention of peace, prevention of mediation, prevention of negotiation, or bringing the warring parties together for the sake of the people. This complex is, let's say, powerful, but not invisible. We just have to feel empathy and solidarity with the people of Gaza. Of course, the same applies to Ukrainian people. I'm not dividing them. But the fact that the Western media shows, such crocodile tears shedding over European conflict, people with white skin, blue eyes, that is racism, that is stereotyping the victims, the conflicts, that some lives matter. At my university in 1990s, we established a Balkan Peace Center at my Faculty of Philosophy in Skopje. And we enrolled the first generations of students in peace studies. And all of a sudden it stopped. We do have a peace program. We can enroll students, but there is no interest. They are more interested into defense studies, security studies. It is a militarized mind. And when I mentioned the academia part of it, I'm talking about militarizing the academia. Academia is supposed to be a place to spread ideas about the best in the human beings and in human history and civilization, the ideas of goodness, of well-being, of care, empathy about the other. But things are really moving in a very, very bad direction. And the world is on one side on the brink of disaster. On the other side, there is a lot of possibilities, a lot of developments that bring back hope. And China is always, as I make this analysis of this new initiative, let alone Belt and Road Initiative, but also BRICS and other multilateral initiatives, you find China as a consistent player promoting really a global agenda of a just world. I know that China pays respect very much to UN Charter and the UN order that is enshrined in the Charter. I don't know if it's sustainable because things go too fast, but we can even improve that model because it is not quite just to all the countries. The 5 permanent members in the Security Council, of course, have the privilege. They can make blockades and sabotage. Gaza is an obvious victim of this situation nowadays, where it's impossible to even intervene in a humanitarian way decently. So China, first of all, deserves all the respect for the things the country leadership did for its own people, because you can speak to the others on the ground of what you achieved at home, how you made your citizens satisfied, prosperous, optimistic youngsters who are looking forward to next things behind the hill. They want to discover things, to create the world in a better way, instead of crying over the future or maybe being recruited for a Ukraine war. So only a country that has proven successful at home has dignity and right to talk to others and to be a good example. And then on a foreign policy field, of course, what I appreciate so much is that unlike the West, who has been intervening in my region, but then later, from NATO intervention 1999, then Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, not to mention now what's going on in Venezuela. That is the main problem. And they are prone to these medicines and quick fix. Let's do it fast and make Greece and Macedonia sit down, sign a treaty, and that's over. No. China has a long-term perspective. China, in my view, is not rushing, is not having imperialistic, megalomaniac ideas. It just gives a platform for all the nations to come together and to talk. I just can't understand that days ago, the new European Union chief of diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, said that she would not talk to Putin because he is a war criminal. It's her job to talk to even to bad guys, let's put it that way. I mean, she doesn't have a problem talking to Netanyahu or to US presidents who are war criminals by default. But Mr. Putin is the main problem. It is a hypocrisy that makes people angry. So I think that diplomacy is exactly the right thing to do when things go badly, when you have to put all things around the table, all actors, regardless how bad feelings they have, because diplomacy and negotiations are the only way to come to some kind of solution. In this moment, we need, it is even sad to say that ceasefire is something that we want to see badly. Ceasefire, which is not peace. Even when we talk about ceasefire, we are labeled like, these guys are pro-Russian, pro-Chinese, pro-anti-NATO or anti-Western. So it is like in Orwellian world, war is peace, peace is war. China, I would like to really pay respect to this latest initiative about bringing together all fractions of Palestinian organizations and leaders around the table to make them comfortable to talk to each other, to design their future Palestinian state or to find a solution in the long run. At the same time, we witnessed a scandalous opening ceremony of the Olympic Games that sent a message of cultural decadence of the West. It is what they can produce, and they invited Israel to take part, but not Russia and Belarus. I don't know why. We need an honest broker, someone who doesn't have blood on its hand. China has no bloody history. China gives opportunities for cooperation without strings attached. And one last thing, what I appreciate in the current global strategy of China is having in mind, various aspects of peace in the world: ecological, civilizational, security, multilateralism, and development. So these are the things that combine itself, and it is, if we talk about peace as a positive peace, not only ceasefires and stop of direct violence, then we talk about all these things together, because it's hard to divide them and to separate them, because, economic problems are related to ecological one, to devastation of natural resources, depletion, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that we should all take the China's policy as our own, but it is a platform for dialogue. And let's talk about all these things that China already has in mind.